Hello, everyone. It's nice to spend some time with you, and we're taking a moment to
Mm.
share with Paula Lutze, who is one of the leaders in our school. We've enjoyed having her and her husband as some of our top students and leaders, and she's a professional lady. She's works into the I'd let her tell you exactly what she does in the educational system. So go ahead, Paula. Let us know what you actually do and your passion.
Yeah, so I used to be a teacher, so I'll give you a little bit about my background. And then I became a professional development specialist. So it's kind of like I used to train the teachers, and then I now have moved into curriculum development. So I've seen a lot of different avenues of the education system in my career. And so, but yeah, currently now I get to actually work on curriculum development that gets used in public school or private school. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those who might not know what's going on, the educational system
Mm.
in the United States was one thing 100 years ago, or
Mm.
50 years ago, or even 20 years ago. But in the last couple decades, slowly but surely, the dark forces really, I'm not talking about individual humans, people, teachers, as we know, we're not battling flesh and blood. Is We're going to get gory in a moment, not right now, but um we're going to go at it. But so get ready. We're just going to have some stuff that
Mm.
uh may make your head spin. But I gotta admit this, Paula, that here I am, born and raised in communist country, total control. Communist Party has l- legally and illegally in every way managed to subdue the entire nation. Parents had lost their any right
Mm.
to have over their children. We were practically property of the state. I mean, everybody really, but especially the children, because they want to reach us while we're young and more vulnerable and easier to control. But rest assured, they have accomplished total control over the mouths and trying to do over the minds of people, certainly over the mouths of people. People were scared to tell the truth. Absolutely. Only truth is allowed what the communist
Mm.
propaganda is. That's the truth, you know. So Christians have lost their strength, their power, their authority. I wasn't Christian, but I did hear about the illegal Christian church and underground churches, so to speak. You might be familiar here with that. But, anyways, I long story, I managed to escape through the at the time Iron Curtain, Berlin Wall, and so forth, and made it to America and encountered Jesus people who loved me into the hands of Jesus. It was an amazing story. Actually, I have a book on that called Joy, and I described chapter one, all the details of my escape. But we're not here to talk about my book and my escape, although it's a great book. You should get it. But we're here to talk about how to escape from this dark forces who have been slowly but surely invading our educational system. And Paula, you're part of that mountain of
Mm.
education, but help us understand, even me. You're part of the, of course, you're a believer, you're a strong Christian, strong leader, amazing woman of God, but you're part of a private Christian education, or tell us that. What
Yeah,
is that?
that's a great question. Actually, my curriculum is not officially Christian, but it has Christian foundation principles in it.
Okay.
So what happened was we started to see a need in education for teaching children, well, first of all, proper English, good vocabulary, manners, all of these things that have slowly kind of been left out over the last couple of years. It's really hard to find curriculum that are teaching values and inside teaching English, because my curriculum is how we teach English. That's what we are. We're an English curriculum. And so my company's goal, that my company is Christian. And so our goal is to take and pinpoint values as we teach our curriculum. And so it kind of instills in a subliminal way. And that's why we can be in public school systems, because we're not officially labeled as this, but we still teach morality. We still teach values. We still teach wholesome things. And that's honestly why so many teachers love our curriculum, is because it just subliminally teaches kids how to be polite. It teaches kids how to love each other. It teaches kids how to listen. For those of you who are teachers, that's a huge thing. Teaching kids to actually listen and pay attention and be kind to one another. So it's like that's what my specific curriculum does, and that's what a lot of Christian companies are starting to do, even in things outside the education system. You kind of label yourself more open, but then you use your Christian influences and foundations to influence subliminally. And I think that's one thing that's really interesting, because this is what you've seen in the shift of the education system anyway over the last couple of decades. And I mean, I'm really excited because on Friday, July 22nd, we're going to have a shift, and we're going to go into more detail about specific things in our education system with multiple speakers. But one of the things is there's a lot of issues that are going on in the education mountain, as we and many of you have seen on the news. Parents, even parental right to know what's going on in the classrooms is at jeopardy, because we're having a push from the education administrations who are like, parents don't need to know what their kids are learning. They're not, and I mean, I hate to say it this way, but it's almost like you're not smart enough to know what's best for your child, is a subliminal message being promoted. And this is what our kids glean, because when the kids don't think that their parents have a right to know, kids start to think, oh, my parents aren't smart enough to really understand what I'm learning, so they are kind of dumb. Like, these are subliminal messages that are being promoted in the education world. And that's just one. And, one of the other things that's really on my heart is innocence of kids. Like, kids, especially our younger kids, have to be kept with that innocence and letting them keep it for as long as possible, which means we should be teaching wholesome things in school. We should be teaching concepts that help them be good people in society. Teach them concepts that are going to help them be successful even in the world later in life. And those are the things that my heart beats for, because I want kids to stay innocent as long as possible. And that means keeping wholesome curriculum in our schools. And parents should be able to look at it and see what's being taught.
Yes, absolutely. And before we dive into what we want to actually prepare those who are listening for what's going to happen Friday. Friday at 11 o'clock East Coast time, we're going to have an amazing a shift event. The goal is to shift America back to its early foundational principles like Paul was talking about. One last question about the education from your point of view, and then we're going to go into what we're going to do Friday. And that is, you mentioned that some teachers really like it, like what you're teaching in your curriculum. And in my mind, do teachers have option or choices to choose curriculum in the secular schools, or uh, or are they told what to teach and that's it? How does
Yeah,
that
that's
work?
also a super good question. And it's a little bit of both, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay. So, like, school administration will allow teachers to present curriculum, and
Oh,
then they weigh the pros and cons of which one to go with. So,
okay.
if I'm a teacher and I have a very specific, maybe open minded to everything mindset, I can present a very liberal curriculum, and then people get to view it. And teachers will have a discussion why it's good, why it's not good, how will it help our students be more successful? Because again, curriculum is chosen based on possible outcomes. We want to see student improvement. And if a teacher is really good at voicing how this curriculum will benefit testing scores, will benefit certain areas that they're targeting in education, then the board might vote to allow that curriculum. But this is another thing that people need to realize. Your student council, like your school board, they vote to allow the purchase of the curriculum. So
Oh,
again, this is why it's so important to understand your your school board council meetings, because they're going
okay.
to talk about proposals for curriculum. You get to listen to it as parents. You get to see, I want to dive into this curriculum. What is it teaching? And so then you get to kind of help sway the school board whether or not they would vote to approve it for purchase. So
Gotcha.
yeah, there's all kinds of things involved in that.
And is that does that happen annually? Like in the beginning, like right now, it's about back to school starts to come. Uh,
Usually, yeah, and that's a good question too.
go ahead.
Usually, teachers will start presenting curriculum at the end of a school year so that
Oh,
they can
okay.
say, like, hey, we have our budget. We're getting ready to do our budget for the next school year. So, this is what we want you to purchase. And so that's when it'll be purchased. So, yeah, it's not like a normal, like some people will think, oh, they're going to buy it in August. No, it's already been bought and paid for because they're going to start it in August.
Uh
And
huh.
so you have to catch them at the end of school years when it comes to budgets. So that's when they're going to talk about it at their school board meetings. They're going to start talking about it in February, March, and April. And
Ah.
so those were the meetings that curriculum could be presented to be discussed for future
Mm,
implementation in a school.
got you. And so, what now? It's almost August. I mean, in
Mhm.
July, and then in Friday, the 22nd, we're going to go into this, amazing Zoom call, especially for. I say Zoom. It's not on Zoom. It's on another software. But what can we do? What do you think people can do now that
Mhm.
it's the curriculum is chosen? What to do now?
First of all, know your rights as parents. You have the right to question teachers and even ask what curriculum is being taught for every subject, because there is different curriculum for different subjects. So when you go, you can have like a conference with your teacher before school even starts and be like, I want to know exactly what my child is learning. I want to know the curriculum name. I want to know how I can find out resources. And then trust me, you can look it up all on the internet. This is what it's teaching. This is where it leans. If it includes certain things like CRT, if it includes other things like inclusive style curriculum stuff, it will all be listed there. You might have to dig a little deep, but you can find out. And then this is where if something kind of gives you a red flag, because you can look at activities your
Uh-huh.
kids are gonna bring home, right? And if you see red flags, then you could ask your teacher, what do you think about this? Can I even see your lesson plans? We have the rights as parents to view teachers' lesson plans. We have the rights to know, like, student reading list. We have the right to know every book that they will be read in school, because, and I mean, but they don't have to give it. Do you know what I'm saying? If you don't ask for it, they're not going to give it to you. So this is where I want you as parents to rise up and be like, I have the power and authority to know everything that's going on with my kids legally. You have this. So use it. You may get pushback from your teacher or your school, but you have the right to know what is being put into your child. So ask questions, ask hardcore questions, ask, don't be afraid, because that's when teachers will start thinking, oh man, this parent is really going to be involved this school year. I'm going to keep them in the know. I want them to know, because a lot of teachers, and this is the other thing, Georgian, a lot of teachers want parent advocates, because you have a lot of Christian teachers who feel like they're sinking because they don't want to teach certain things, but they have to legally because it's in their contract. But if a teacher gets a parent advocate, because teachers can't say, I don't like it because of X, Y, and Z, right?
Right.
But a parent can. And if a teacher and a parent join together, that's a
Mm.
powerful force to be
Wow.
reckoned with.
Pack. That's huge. That's good to know. So uh, that's amazing, and I'm excited about finding that out. Honestly, I didn't really know what what now that is chosen and is set. And of course, you can ask the question. So
Mm-hmm.
red flag. If you say something like touching inappropriate
Mm-hmm.
or discussing information that sometime I've seen podcasts with people who are saying, "Here's what they can't even show it on television
Yep.
of what's been shown," right? Because it's not allowed on television yet. They're
Yep.
allowing it in a closed door. So now that this thing is set, in worst case scenario, something is
Hmm.
that you know as a parent don't want. So what are the chances for you? Okay, you're raising the issue, but can they change it? I mean, what's now?
So this is the thing. Yeah, like they may not, your administration won't want to change it. I'm going to be honest with you guys. They're not going to want to change it, especially mid-year or even early on, right? Because they've already bought it. But this happened in a couple of counties in Virginia and in a couple of counties in Florida. Parents got the reading list and they started looking into what their kids were going to be reading in class, right? A lot of it was pornographic in nature and very inappropriate for little, like a lower, well, it's inappropriate for everyone, but it was like in a younger grade level too. So that made it even worse. And so these parents went to the next school board meeting and they were like, how dare you force my child to, so it's like you escalate it as a parent. You're now taking it to an administration level above the principal. So you're taking it outside of your individual school system, because your principal will probably say your child doesn't have to read it because you're doing an exemption, because parents can always exempt their kids from certain things. Like if you express a concern, a principal will say, okay, your child doesn't have to read that. But if you really want to advocate for everybody else's children, you have to go to the school board meeting and you're going to escalate it that way. And you have to present your findings on why it's inappropriate, which is why you hear people try to read some excerpts from these books and they get cut off the speakers because it's gross and it's nasty. And that's a great thing, because it's like, if it's too nasty for you as an adult to hear it sitting on a board, how dare you require it for our kids in sixth grade? How dare you require it for reading for children who don't even have the mental capacity to understand all the rights and wrongs because they're still developing their social cues? You know what I'm saying? So, like,
Yes, I do.
we escalate it and then we keep escalating it. You can't let it go, because the more you fight for change, the more likely you are to get it.
Wow. That's kind of like what we're trying to do with the shift. We're fighting to cause a
Yes.
shift, but in this particular shift, it's coming up. We are particularly focusing on shifting what's going on in education now. And I would love to dive into some gory stuff that is really happening. So for those of you who want to hear some of the gory things that we're going to discuss in the next few minutes, just hop in on this unedited version on Rumble, and and so we're gonna go for it. Okay,